That's Blue Beam Project. And so when they project alien fleets in the sky and they project laser beams or whatever they're going to use to scare people with, that is what people are going to see and fear. But it gets a little thicker than that because...
All right. It's strange stuff, Stuart.
Well, this has been planned for years, decades, and we're finally coming to the culmination of this. They're also going to stage a second coming of Christ. And that second coming is going to proclaim the New World Order as his new holy empire. And they're going to install a New World religion as well, which is already in process also. So this planet is going to be very different than what we've known it to be in the past.
As crazy as this sounds, some of it, I'm not so sure I can accept the second coming, but as crazy as this sounds, some of it sounds very possible.
Well, all you got to do is look at the newspaper, watch CNN, and you can see all of it happening. And it's right there in front of us.
What minds developed this?
Well, this is not new. This has been going on since day zero on this planet for the ultimate domination and control of the planet. But I feel that it cannot ultimately be successful because, as I mentioned before the last break, we have that 97% of DNA that scientists call junk DNA. And the thing is that 97% is common through all species, no matter what the species. To me, that's proof of God or God mind, that there's a common 97% DNA through all species. And only 3% of DNA differentiates species and individuals within that species. So to me, that's very mind-boggling and proof of a higher intelligence. If we can tap in and open up that unused DNA, we would have abilities that would enable us to remove victimization mind pattern that enables these things to occur.
Well, explain that a little bit more. How?
Well, human beings have a victimization mind pattern that attracts tyrants and oppressors. And we project out from our minds into physical reality what our thoughts are, and the universe reflects that for us. Think of the analogy as thoughts being film, the brain being the projector, and physical reality as the screen. So if we don't like the movie of our life that's playing, we need to change the film, which is the way we think. If we think in victimization terms and vulnerability terms, we will create that kind of a world. If we take our mind back and control ourselves, then this cannot happen. We cannot be controlled by others.
Why do they need the alien invasion to implement this? Why don't they just continue to push the terrorism agenda, for example? I mean, that will create fear no matter what, especially if they magnify it.
Initially, but that can last for just so long, just like the Cold War could only last for just so long.
And then people will say enough is enough.
Right. But an alien threat, well, that's out there in the universe, which is vast. That's forever.
And it's also them against us.
Correct.
Basically.
Correct. And so that's the ultimate fear user, where everybody wants to band together to fight against this.
Stuart, you do know, if this is possible, how warped their minds must be.
Well, again, that's why I explained the reptilian mindset. They think differently than human beings. We think in a different way than they do. They have in their minds all the time in the world because their genetics don't change. Their culture stays the same through mind control and programming, so there's no deviation. They're very sure of what they're doing. To them, in their minds, what they do is holy to them.
How long do they live, each, as a physical being? How long?
Well, we know the Queen Mother admitted to being 100-something years old, and she was a lot older than that. They can live several hundred years in the same body.
The Queen Mother is a reptilian?
Oh, she was, yes. Did you see the size of her coffin? It was not the size of her human body.
I did not see the size of her coffin. Is there a picture I can find on the internet?
Well, there might be. I don't know. But it was quite much larger than what should have been for that little lady's body.
How big was it?
It was pretty large. It was, to me, like a little
Like-
piano case.
Oh, like 8 feet, 9 feet?
It was big. I don't know how. I mean, you can only see from the pictures, but it was very large.
You're saying when she died, the Queen Mother reverted to the reptilian stage.
Yes. Yes.
And then became this large reptilian, and that's what they buried her in.
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
Sounds like David Icke's been getting to you on this one, Stuart.
Well, the truth is still the truth. I've had reporters tell me that they know about this but cannot ever report on it.
You mean British reporters?
Well, actually, an American reporter said this to me, as well as a British reporter.
That the royal family, are they pure reptilians or
No, they're
hybrids?
shapeshifters, obviously. They go into human form. And isn't it interesting that Prince Harry this week said that he could never be normal? Now, of course, you could take that several ways, but I take it in a way that he knows he's also a reptilian shapeshifter.
Well, I was going to say, do these members know who they are or
Yes.
what they are?
Of course, when you're a shapeshifter, you know that. You know what you are. And this,
All right, but how come you said like yourself that you have reptilian blood? I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you said. How come you can't shapeshift?
because I don't have a 50-50 split in genetics.
Ah, but they do.
They do.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. You can't.
So
Yeah, you need to have a majority, at least, of the genetics in order to manifest the characteristics of the species.
most people in power on this planet are 50-50?
No, I would not say most. I would say that there is quite a few, but I would say most are not shapeshifters, but there are many shapeshifters. And they're not just in control positions. There are many in all walks of life because they need to control every layer of mankind.
Be more human who go along with the alien agenda?
Yes, of course, there are many factions within this, which is why we're seeing the world the way it is, because these 13 families, even though they have the same ultimate goal, do fight among themselves and do take sides against one another. And so we're seeing now a battle between the Windsors and the Rothschilds and the Romanovs for complete control of the planet.
Now, these 13 families, do they geographically spread all over the planet, or are they primarily in Europe? Where are they?
They're mostly based in Europe, but they have sectioned out the world under different control for different families. For example, the Windsors are in control of the British Isles and North America and Australia, whereas the Rothschilds controlled mainland Europe and Africa and parts of Asia.
If we grabbed one of them and gave them an X-ray, what would we see? Would they look human?
Well, on an X-ray, of course, if they're in a human form, they'd look human.
So everything changes.
Yes, yes. The whole structure, the whole genetic polygraph.
Okay, almost like a werewolf.
Well, that's where it comes from. That's the type of genetics. When you have that type of genetics where it can override the other genetics, you can manifest other characteristics.
Simply amazing.
And, we see this sometimes in humans when we have people born with webbed hands or feet, or people born with a tail. We have these characteristics sometimes manifest in births in humanity, but they're called anomalies or throwbacks to ancient time. It's really a form of shape-shifting.
I do have someone sending me now, as we speak, a picture of the Queen Mum's coffin. So
Okay.
I'm gonna take a look at it, and we'll see what it looks like. While we're doing this, and I'm taking a picture of this. All right, here it is. Well, okay, it does look long, I'll tell you. I mean, it looks about 3 feet longer than a normal coffin.
Yes, yes.
Maybe she was wearing her. No, I guess not. That's on top. No, she wasn't wearing her queen's hat. Nothing like that. Strange. Okay, let's talk a little bit in the last few moments we have here about before the calls next hour, Stuart. Time travel. What's your take on time travel?
Yeah, as I mentioned very earlier, it is not as complicated as you would think. Every point in time and space has a unique frequency and vibration. There are no 2 points in time and space that are identical. So if you can map out and vibrate an object, person, or thing to a specific point in time and space, there will be an instant connection because it would have to match. And that's how time travel and interdimensional travel takes place. You simply vibrate the body or a vehicle to a distant location, and there's an instant connection.
And we don't need to do this with a machine, right?
Well, of course, at Montec it was technological. But in my work, I do teach a form of mental time travel where you can mentally and energetically tune into a specific time and place.
Give us some other